to organize it. They give us this opportunity to present this topic in this lovely setup. Last year, this is our second presentation on the Data Science Conference. Last year we presented the topic of data mesh in airlines industry. The room was similarly full, so I'm happy that from year to year we are filling the rooms, and people are interested in the things what we are doing all together. This year the topic would be about data governance. We believe this is a very interesting topic. On every meeting that we all together were in the last 2 years, somebody mentioned the topic of data governance. Somebody mentioned this famous quote, you know, garbage in, garbage out, stuff like that. And definitely in all these meetings we see this, and that's the reason why today we will cover all these topics. I will just present in short our panelists for today. From my left-hand side, first Biljana Atanaskovic. Biljana is head of data management analytics in Neld Group. For the last 2 years, Nevena is extensively fighting with all challenges that Neld has with all this data that they are possess and that they are trying to use and utilize to really create value for this organization. Second is Petra Hajdukovic. Petra is the BI and Analytics Director in Fortenova Group. Fortenova is one of the biggest groups in the region. I guess most of you know them through their main brands, Mercator and Consum. Petra is also long time, I think almost from the beginning of career with Fortenova and in data analytics, so she will share us this topic with us. Next is Miho Kovac. Miho is also one of our colleagues. He is for the last 15-20 years in data analytics. He was the main chief of data analytics in the company previously known as Studio Moderna, now Dormeo Home. You know them as a brand from the top shop. They are cloud-first company. They are also very data-driven, data-rich company, and Miho will also present a bit about their journey on data journey. Last but not least is also my colleague, Andrej Hudoklin. We are working now almost 3 years together. He used to work for one company from Slovenia called Data Orbis, from ADD. Now he's in Data Orbis, and he's executive from the implementation data product. So two of us will be joint hosters of this panel. Andrej will give you a short introduction about the topic, and then we will continue with our session.
Thank you, Alexander. Hello, everyone. I do also apologize for the small room because we anticipated a bit less people with the boring team we have around data governance, but looks good. So data governance. A lot of time when we, speak with clients, organizations, there is a different perception what data governance is, right? And today we really want to go through different topics, areas which touches data governance, and get a bit of experience from basically FMCG retail perspective, but still there is a lot of experience they went through in the last basically 20 years. Also Biljana with previous experience in banking world. So just to get that a bit of feeling, because if you're looking today, data is actually becoming like, lifeblood of the organization. And if it's not effectively managed, we can actually have big problems, issues, and negative impact on the business. So if you're just looking from an example of retail, we can say like, if you're just having consistent product information, you can see through different platforms that organization can use. It can be like, from online catalog, from, for example, in-store inventory information, on the mobile apps, e-commerce, all of that can actually lead to, actually running and leading customer into confusion. That will make, you'll get additional product returns. So in the end, you get negative impact on the revenues, but you get also negative feedback from customer satisfaction. So this is just one example. So the effectiveness of data governance is becoming a real big importance of the each organization, and it's not just about reporting and AI, but really having that quality, consistency that provides you at the end the result through the solutions that you put in place. So, and one more thing to emphasize as well, it's not just IT concern, because it relates to all business aspects of the organization. That's also important to say. So, throughout the topics we will cover, please freely ask, raise questions. Let's have this as a really interactive discussion. We already know each other quite well, but please chip in with your questions.
Yeah, so just in terms of structure, for you to get the idea of what we will cover. So we have 4 topics today. First one would be about fundamentals and challenges and risks related to the project or to the data management, data governance. So we will try to cover really what these companies do, what are their challenges, how they see how this will be proceed in the future. So generally to get some baseline. After that, we will go from the above. So we will start with a strategy so that you understand how they look situation in terms of data analytics, in terms of strategy, in terms of maturity, so how they assess the maturity of their operations, how they see these gaps and how they plan to fulfill them. After that, we will go in more operational level. So we will talk about 3 main things when we talk about data governance. So about accountability, about the data quality, and about the compliance. So regulatory compliance, how they cope with that. And finally, at the end, we will try to give a more technical and this futuristic approach. So we will talk about the technologies that are currently in place and what are some best practices that they use and they see on the market, and what are some future trends. So we will really try to cover all these topics and to give one comprehensive view on the data governance from their eyes. So we will start from the beginning. We will start with ladies. So first question is that generally we ask all of them, how do you see your data management, and part of data governance is a part of data management. So Petra, we can start with you, and then Milena and Miha.
Okay, so Fortenova Group has a really long history of dealing with the data. So maybe for more than 20 years, we collect data, clean the data, and do everything what is under data management topic. But that doesn't mean that we really address the data governance in an appropriate way. We needed to do something because of the data quality needs, because of the access management rights, and all other mandatory aspects, but we never really started data governance project in a real way until previously, like last year, we started working more in advanced analytics area, and I think that was like a point when we said, okay, data governance is really foundation for everything, so we really need to start with data governance in a structured way. So now, as at this point, we are in process in really implementing data governance, starting with all procedure, policies, data owners, data stewards, and everything what data governance brings.
Maybe you can give us just short this trigger. What was this main challenge when you said, okay, from now on we need really to start to do this in a structural way, so not ad hoc, not like we are giving our best, but we really need to put full structure and to full speed on this?
Well, there are a lot of challenges, let's be honest. Mostly are related to data quality, because this is something that our end users and business are, they're dealing with the data every day. But very often when I'm explaining to everyone some benefits of data governance, I'm always telling the example when we had some pretty simple task to create some relatively basic report with basic KPIs. But since Fortenova Group, we have like more than 50 companies inside our group. we needed to have the data of 6 companies combined, compared, like for like, and everything. And although we already had the data that was needed, but it was very, very challenging to put the same data from like for like perspective, from a subject perspective, so that the KPIs could really be comparable. So we were creating that report for like, I don't know, maybe 3 to 6 months, and this is something that needs to be done in like 5 days or something, because it's really the basic report. But if you don't have a governance, if you don't have data owners, if you don't have a person who you can ask and get a right answer, if you don't have a standards on a group level, because on each company level, I would say that, you know, data governance is, it depends of course, but more or less it's there. But when it comes on a group level, and when you need to compare anything or have the same definitions or anything, then we don't have much. So we were like, you know, emailing, having meetings, call for 6 months just to align on definitions. And this is something that needs to be done, you know, before. And at the moment when you have a task to do something like that, to really do that very easily. So this is one of the examples that really shows a benefit of data governance. There are of course a lot others there, but I think this is something where a lot of people really understand the struggle that is that everyone who is dealing with data on daily level is dealing with.
Thank you. So Biljana Melt is one of the largest Serbian private companies. Large revenues, very complex business. Data is now, as you like to say, in the heart of this company, and it should be there. Still, you are on the road, and you see where this is going, but still, you know, the road is long. So, what is the situation in NELT? How do you see now the progress where you are in terms of data management and data governance?
Okay, as you mentioned, NELT is a Serbian company operating in 12 markets and providing complete solution in logistic and distribution services. Beside that, there are 3 companies is doing business, doing production, like Neoplanta. It is meat industry, baby food factory with the most famous product, Hudoklin A, and candy factory in Angola. So there are more than 100 principals and more than 100 logistic clients and thousands and thousands clients and SKUs and products. So there is a very huge amount of data, and we are data-rich company. If we would like to be modern and to use modern language, but we would like to be data-driven company. All of us want to be data-driven company, but we recognize it, and we start the project. We realize that the data analytics and the data, generally speaking, data and analytics are one of the key challenges, and we prioritize it, and we decide that in the future it will be one of our core pillars we would like to build in. So a lot of data, a lot of very complex business, and we started 2 years ago. We started the project data management and analytics, and we realized 5 main pillars within the project. One of them is data strategy, data governance, cloud-based platform, and reporting part, and analytics, advanced analytics part of the project. So data governance is one of the main topic. Also, 2 main enablers are data strategy and cloud-based platform. Where we are now, we finished the data. We defined data strategy at the beginning of the project, and it is very important. I really recommend you to do it in that way if you plan to do something with the data in the future. And we established a cloud platform. We have single source of truth. It is the enterprise data warehouse on Azure. And we finished some parts for reporting, because we prioritize three business areas in which we would like to build reporting system and advanced analytics. It is sales, supply chain, and finance. We finished the reporting system for sales and supply chain, and now we are doing finance reporting, finance part of reporting. So regarding advanced analytics models, we prioritize two of them: suggested order and demand forecast model. And now we let's say finish both of them, and now we are analyzing the results which we have.
And which were some key challenges that you said, okay, now data governance I need to put on the higher position in terms of prioritization. Why you say, okay, now we need to focus on this more?
Yeah, now we recognize that we need to focus on data governance because of a few things. One of them is collaboration. It is a very main topic, and we have, beside all those projects and part of projects, we also at the same time implement some advanced solution like promo and pricing tool, like Salesforce application for our sellers, and all those applications needs data with the very good quality. If we don't have data with a good quality, business results will not be good. So we can fail in that area. So it is not. We need to have data quality on the highest possible data on the highest possible quality. Not because of reporting, because in reporting it isn't so important. Because as a total, you will see you can see the right figure, but if you use data in advanced analytic, there is a black box in background, and you don't you cannot have an impact on the quality of data. You will not be aware that you have data with the not so good quality. So. And also, if you do some promotions, if you don't have some fields, or if you didn't write on a proper way, maybe you will put some money on promotion on the not good date. So you can use at the end you can lose money.
Okay. And last, Miha, Studio Moderna was.
Did you want to jump in?
No.
So in terms of the Studio Moderna, you were the pioneers in use of data analytics for a long period. You started early and really tried to explore all the possibilities and how you can create value. Maybe you can do that just also from your side.
Okay, let me maybe just take half a minute just to explain Studio Moderna and Dormio Home, just that people understand what is going on. So Studio Moderna was present in 23 countries in Central Eastern Europe. Due to different economic reasons, and mostly Ukraine and Russia being in war, we had to close and disinvest Russia. Operations in Ukraine also dropped significantly. So we were in position to really shrink the company. We fought actually for a year and a half to somehow stabilize the company. We didn't succeed. Therefore, we have a new owner on board. So it's a new owner who actually restructured the company totally. So there is a new name behind, Dormio Home. Dormio was always our brand, so the main brand. So becoming from more, let's say, consumer brand oriented retailer or omni-channel retailer, we became actually a sleep expert. So we are driving now only Dormio, so Dormio is the main brand. And here, why I'm explaining this, because like Alexander said, it's going in history of 20 years back. Who of you is using today data warehouse or any similar platform for reporting and so on? Please raise hands, just that I see. How many of you? Okay, let's say it's a big half. So our first data warehouse was built up in 2001, so in previously in Studio Moderna. Why? Because the owner said, data is a king. So we will be data-driven company, despite the fact that in the days he didn't understand completely what does it mean that. But because he was collaborating a lot with West, where this dogma was pretty well known, he said, let's digitalize everything. Whatever we can put in data, in digitalized way, not to use paper, let's try to do it. And so this is how we started. Why this is important? Because through 20 years, we did a lot of this data management. So if we talk about buzzwords, which obviously it's in the last couple of years, this is really sexy, so that the buzzwords are used on the different level. So data management is definitely the part that we were doing, I would say, pretty good, or even close to really good. When we talk about data governance, I don't believe that still today people understand completely in the company what data governance is. We took a bit, which Andrei said and my colleagues, and we will explore it through this session, but that we would have organized way of sitting down and talk about the data governance, we never did. We probably took the pieces. We never had the structured project around that, but when we came to some problem, like Petra, I think, said at the beginning, how to access some data, who should have the access to the data, this was a mini project. We never talked about data governance as a whole. We said, okay, let's now tackle this part and so on. Why I'm expressing this? Because maybe I'm a bit coming from the different angle with this history behind. Is it necessary to have a project like data governance or not? Probably we would have split opinion. I'm saying that you need to learn by doing. What is important is that you have somebody from outside who is not in your organization who can actually navigate you. I'm working with Andrei for what now? Almost 20 years. He was always, or his team was always somehow our pillar outside to kneel on them to understand what the other companies are doing outside. On the other side, we were a big playground for them because we had a lot of data, and that was actually the case. Not to go in other topics, so maybe, and not to be too long, we have quite a lot of topics behind.
We have, as we know each other quite a long time, and we've done a lot of different projects. I think there is a big difference between what Biljana was saying, because with a proper, you actually did first digital transformation assessment, then you did data strategy, everything connected to business strategy, mapping to strategic goals of the company, which is a very structured approach, and you're following it at NED. But at Studio Modern, it's quite different, right? Because, as you said, by doing it, right? So can you just explain that evolution over time? Because I think it's also very important to understand you can't, get everything through a consultancy. There are parts that you need to just live through, try, right? How the business strategy was actually, what was the role of data governance in business strategy? Achieving the goals, achieving what business wanted to achieve.
So always was, let's be honest, sales was our first priority. Whatever we were doing, we want to be either more sales, either more profitable. That's because we are retailers. So we found pretty soon that without the right data behind, we cannot be faster than our competition on the market. That's why we were doing, I would say, experimental projects through 20 years. With some of them, if somebody would look us from outside, would say, you are crazy guys, We were actually able already in 2006 to monitor each second of our commercial on television station and mark it with the revenue and known actually simultaneously, because we connect also call center data to the data warehouse to understand either we are doing okay with the commercial or not okay. Today, this is out of the box for majority of us, I mean the whole group in this room. In 2006, this was not, and competitors didn't have that. That actually came from top down, because why? We went to media houses to negotiate, and we had to be more advanced than media house. We knew exactly for each time slot on media what is profitable for us and not. And we had a big Excel or from the data warehouse, and you just inserted few numbers in, and you got actually how much was the cap which we can pay and not go above that, so that we are still profitable. And that was the power of that. And this was actually, when you talked about how this is tied up with the strategy, actually data was the strategy. So data was in our DNA, and it's still in our DNA. So I don't believe that we could also shift to Dormio Home now if we wouldn't have the right analytical tools behind, or data platform, or whatever buzzword we use here, because then you need more people, you are slower, you cannot predict, you cannot go with any of those fancy AI like we are now listening in the last few days here. Forget about it. It's a base. And yeah, then we come to the data governance, the structure and around. It needs to be top down. At least this is how I see. This is what we notice. If you don't have a support from the top down, forget about it. I don't believe that you can succeed. It will be an island, isolated island in the ocean, and sharks will be around, and everybody would like to eat you because they don't believe in that. And this we went through. This we actually went through.
Milena, you already was saying like 5 pillars, and what was actually the important part in data governance was one of those. But as you've done also data strategy, one of the important part of that was also understanding your maturity,
Yes.
right? And what would be the evolution of that maturity and looking at that. Can you explain a bit of that, how NELT is looking at that, and at the end it's not just about you and your team, right?
Yeah, okay, when we started the project, we first what we have done is defined data strategy. One part of data strategy was data maturity assessment. We worked together. We did it together with our partner, and we defined all use cases we would like to build in the future in the 3 years, because we defined data strategy for 3 years. We defined all use cases, and also we defined all data sets that are necessary for that use cases to be successfully implemented. And also within all data sets, we define the data quality. Not to define, how to say, we assess data quality, and also what data we have, what data we don't have, and for that we don't have, how to collect it in order to use cases become successfully. So that we have success in that implementation. So, and also that maturity assessment showed us where we were in that moment and where we would like to be in 3 years. In the meantime, we let's say it is the logic we follow during the whole project, but sometimes we change something, but the essence was remained the same. So we didn't change the structure. We just changed some maybe some data sets who wasn't predictable for some analytical models or for some other part of the project. So. I think that it is very, very important, because if you don't know where you would like to be, I don't know how you can do the project or whatever. So also the main what is the most important is sponsors, data sponsors for the project, as Miha mentioned. We have very supportive sponsors who understand very well data, and who understands value from the data, and it helps us a lot during this process.
And that was a bit also seen from the maturity, initial maturity, that the top management, the view, the strategy, the vision was actually the highest score on maturity, which
Yes.
leads to that there is investment, there is the sponsorship that you require. Petra, you said like last year you put importance on data governance, right? How is that mapped with your business strategy? Because you as a group, 56 companies, I think, right?
Yeah.
So But why only now that big importance of data governance? But you've done a lot of, if you look in the data analytics space, you've done a lot of different projects within the group in the past 15, 20 years.
Yeah, previously it was similar like Miha said, and maybe I can just comment that because the problem, if we go in that direction, that if we just tackle the, some parts when we come to some problem, then you need to, at that moment when you see a problem, you need to resolve it, you need to have a project, it takes time, you didn't plan it at that point. So from that perspective, I think that it's much better if someone can really start the project on a structured way, because in this way you just lose a lot of time because the additional tasks become a priority because you see some new challenges with the data, whatever. And if you go in this way, it's more structured way, let's put it like that, then you already take care of that before even the problem appears. So we are somewhere in the middle. So we started this way, now we are shifting on this way. But yes, it's connected with our strategy of the group because somewhere in 2021, the group decided that we will switch from, like it says, from data-rich to data-driven company. And we started with our Fortenova Data Lab, and this is like center of excellence, where the idea is to really put advanced analytics topics in priority, let's put it like that. We are offering like classical reporting for more than 20 years. And we started with advanced analytics projects in, I think, 2018 for the first time. But in 2021, we decided that we will really form the data lab, really put the focus on that, because it's clear that everything in the world is going in a data direction, data-driven. So in parallel with that, it was logic that we really need to address data governance topic on a more structural way. So we did that. Or at least we are trying to do that, and we are doing it now.
So then all three of you would agree it's always the right time just to stop and do a proper strategy, which is not just business strategy, but do a strategy, how to use data, what are methodologies that want to be applied, structures to be set, and how all that applies back to the strategic goals of the company.
Yes, but not stop. You cannot stop. Let's be honest. You cannot stop. Life goes on, and I think that data governance, although maybe the project itself maybe has a beginning and the end, but it's never-ending story. Let's be honest. Always, you need to deal with the challenges with data quality. You can have all policy standards implemented, but always you will have some new challenge there. So it's never-ending story, and I think, to be honest, most of the people think that data governance is boring, because it is in a way, but it's really mandatory and foundations of everything.
So, arms up, who thinks data governance is boring?
Maybe this is not thank you.
We should reformulate it. It's not boring, but it's not fancy. It's not fancy for sure.
It's like data warehouse.
Almost.
But this is not the right audience for that question, They're already here, so that means
the one that left.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
But probably what you said is, or maybe what Petra said, and I'm thinking now, it's evolution and not revolution.
Yeah.
That's the point. It needs to be part of on one side of the strategy overall as a business, and it needs a push from, one point inside of the organization. In our case, this is analytical department that we have, which serves cross-board. And it's not sitting either in IT, either in marketing, but it's actually a functional unit which reports directly to the owners, and they are, like a center of excellence, like you said. And it's, we are just part of that or supporting that. So yeah.
So just to position it like, Gartner has a data governance maturity model: unaware, aware, reactive, proactive, to managed, right? So where you would fit in? Just
It
Quick
depends.
answer.
It depends.
One word.
Since in our group we have a lot of companies, and I would say that each operating company probably thinks we stand really well, but when it comes on a group level, well, that's not really the case. So I would say that now we are really shifting from unaware to aware, and that's why we are in this phase where we are starting with the project on more structural work.
Low and brave assessment, thanks. Biljana?
Aware. So we are aware, and maybe it is.
I think reactive.
So there are still opportunities for us.
You mean you as a vendor?
Yes.
Mistakes are okay.
No, but the first thing is important to understand where you are. This is the very important, that you see a lot of room for improvement. So
Correct.
This is,
And maybe it is okay to share with the audience that when speaking about Center of Excellence, we started maybe on an unusual way, because we defined and we started with virtual Center of Excellence. So we didn't have people inside that formal. We find the people within different functions. It depends on area we developed in that moment. So now we are mature, we are aware,
maturing.
and from the 1st of December we will formalize it after 2 years. Thank you.
Alexander, but if we are now aware, right?
Yes.
So it's a good topic now.
The good thing
Yeah.
is that that was part of the strategy. I mean, the
Yes, and
idea
that
we
was
start
part
doing
of the strategy. We defined that we will start with virtual, and after 6 months
Yeah.
we employed one data engineer, and after when we finish some part of the project, we will employ the rest of project management.
Alexander, being aware, right? So it's a good topic to open, like, what's the data ownership, accountability,
This is
responsibility?
actually
Yeah.
what now we discussed about the strategic part. Now let's go a bit deeper. Everybody is very nice in the high levels when we are in PowerPoints and Excel sheets, but when we need to go to dig deeper in the real data and real operations and work with people, then the things are a bit changing. And what Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they are hit first. So let's now talk about this hitting and how we proceed. So maybe we can start with Mika, because they said that their culture was very, let's say, try to be fast and breaking things and be first on the market, but how that was influencing data in terms of accountability, in terms of ownership of data. How did you make this kind of roles, responsibilities, who is doing what, who can approach which data? So let's just explain
It's
this.
interesting. It's interesting actually that on the beginning when we started, it was so small group of people who believed in this project that you didn't have any issues with that. Those that believe and unbelievers, which are on the other side, and you had to convince them that this is the right way to go. But this is long way back. So maybe it's more important is we learn by failing. That's opposite what Petra said. But you probably went also through this phase. So. And probably now that we are smaller than we were before, we at least think that we are even more agile. Agile doesn't mean that in this case this is really good because it's not structured in the way that it should be structured. But if we talk about what is good or what we have learned in this, ownership or who has to be accountable for the data, with putting data analytical team in the middle, some stuff were actually naturally solved because they were accountable actually for the accuracy of the data, for which KPIs we are monitoring, why we are monitoring this, who has access to each of the data and so on. This is, again, it was evolution. I remember back when not all the people in the company were allowed to see data because we were hiding a bit. That was the culture. And then in some moment this shift.
And that is very often the case.
Yeah,
It's not,
because he should not see these because these are revenue numbers, and then they talk outside and so on, which is in these days today this is crazy, because we are talking that we have lakes of data and we want to have good information out of this data. So this shift, this mental shift that, this is a sign definitely. This is a sign that becoming from less visible to more visible, which means more people have access on the front line, on the back end line. What is important is that this team was managing the accuracy of the data, which means if I'm looking sales, either I'm looking sales by each agent in the call center, or on top level, this comes from the same data source.
And when you are talking about this, let's call democratization of data,
Yes.
what was the trigger? Did you have some kind of trigger? You said, okay, from now on it was just evolution.
It was evolution. In our case, it was evolution because we have a long tail, which is not necessarily so good because people don't know to operate without data. That's the problem, problem or good.
So all
sense.
data are open to everyone?
Our majority except of course profit. It cannot be, and we don't even hide EBITDA and those financial data. So of course, supervisor in the call center doesn't need this data to operate daily. But we are not hiding sales data. Sales data were never hide.
Petra, in your case, this is a bit more complex because you have a holding structure, then you have a lot of opcos, and
That's it.
so how this is this part about ownership, accountability, who is doing what, how do you try to organize all these very complex relationships?
Well, at this point, the ownership is on operating companies level, and for now that's the case. But I think that in the long term, if we look, probably some of the owners has to be on a top level, because more and more we need to look on the data from group perspective, and it's very hard then when you need to deal with XYZ different person to really define the data, the owners, or anything related to that. At this point, we are starting with the data governance office, and unfortunately at this point it's close to IT, and I don't think that's good in long term. So we need to switch that closer to business. That's for sure. But at this point, we as IT are driving this topic, and one of the tasks that we have is really the topic of ownership, because it's now pretty divided, so it's pretty hard to work like that. And when it comes to security aspects, it's not open to everyone really, but the definitions are on operating companies level. They are defining who can see what, when, why, etc. And even the group doesn't have a privilege to see all the data if the operating companies does not give the approval for that. So we need to work on that a bit.
Okay. Biljana, in your case, NELT also has very, let's say, complex operating model. This is to put it in that word. So how, in your case, also this security and transparency issue is always a question about profitability on some particular business units and different ways how you operate. So how this is done in health case about ownership, accountability, who is responsible for what?
No one wants to be responsible. It is the main problem always, and we see business ownership as one of the key challenges in our project, and to key challenge we would like to deal with that topic in the next few months. But when defining the business ownership, we started from the beginning. Who collect the data? Who is? We split it somehow. We don't have just business owner. We have the data entry operator. We have business owner, and we have technical owners. So, and also we have in our Center of Excellence, we will have from the 1st of December data steward role, and we have few roles, and that's how we see that ownership in our company. But as a business, it always is the most difficult is to define business owners, because no one don't know what to do. Even we decide who will be the business owner, here they need to be aware what is their responsibility, and how to ensure that it is in place every day and in a real life, because on paper, on Excel, on PowerPoint, everything looks like. So I don't know, we will see, but we see now few main roles, and we will start from that point, and we will see how it works. If we find that something is not okay, we will back to the beginning and to the never-end story about data governance. So, but I think that now we are more sure than it was in the beginning, and I think that it should work. It should work.
Can I just ask something? So, to us, it's a question, or it's a question also to me, but where the data owner should sit, actually. I'm talking about either close to IT, either close to business. Let's say that this somehow we understand, and also the people understand, but where in the position, who should be responsible from the top down? Is this something that, or the role or the function inside of the organization should report directly to the board? Because let's be honest, data is, it's a king. So
It's
this
gold.
is, yeah, without that, if we have wrong data or wrong, results, everything can be screwed up. So I'm thinking now, because in the past, this role or this position in our organization was not on the top level. So it was somewhere which is called in the past media analytical department. This was the role. They were somehow there, around, a bit was also in the logistics because it was not synchronized. And now this role is actually the person who is responsible for that has the executive role. So same that I am. So she's sitting with me on the board of directors. So, and I believe that it's much more clear, because whenever it's good or bad, she's accountable, And then we try to help her from different angles. I'm from technology, somebody from, understanding why this data is like this, and she's there. But she's always a point of failure or success. And I'm just curious how this is in Portanova and in Nel.
I understand your question.
Sorry if I, but I was thinking.
Well, I agree with you that sometimes it could be a problem if the owner is really high, because you need some operational topics, questions, whatever, address with that person, and you want go to CFO or the group and discuss with him. We have a data issue.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I agree. Maybe it's not okay if it's too high, but from our perspective at this point, since each company has the owner of the data for the same data, because we have a lot of companies from same industry, then when you need to have some answer or owner for all these data from that industry, then you have a problem, because then you have 5 different data owners, and you cannot get any answer easily. So from that perspective, we see that maybe somewhere higher. It doesn't have to be, it has to be someone who has a mandate to decide anything related to data, but low enough to really understand the problem and to deal with the data. So yeah, I still don't know, because we don't have really we don't have for each data, we don't have a data owner. This is something that we need
Which I think, my personal view, based on experience we have, if top management doesn't understand the KPI, how it's built, it's a fuck up in the company.
Yeah, okay, but
because
that
they don't
doesn't mean that
understand
they
what they're
need to be a data
We were
owner.
when we were start to use, our owner was actually looking orders, so revenue, not invoices, orders. So, and he believed, long time, that this is how much we are getting in actually.
No one told him.
No, but there was no right education on that and no ownership on that. So then we had to, now if you ask for major KPIs, owner or CEO or how this is built, just in the nutshell, just explain me with your simple words. They need to understand. Otherwise, we are looking apples
In
and
terms
pears.
of entrepreneurial business, this is very true. In terms
Yeah.
of the
Yeah, I understand.
holding large international company, grown through M&A and such, it's a bit different story. But still, what Petra mentioned, I think that this domain management, very complex way how you structure data guys is very important. And this is long way. It's not fast lane.
No, it's not.
And yeah.
But it's
What
it's a
can we
different
do?
it's a different challenge, but the end goal is the same, right? And it's also part of that maturity that we spoke of. As you evaluated, they're a bit further. They came to that. You will come to that as well. But that's part of the maturity of the whole organization, not just the team that is working with data.
The road is thorough, but we will come to it.
Correct.
It's a bumpy road, but there is a highway
Yes,
somewhere.
yes,
Also for us.
everybody believes it's highway, but it's not.
And
Okay,
because,
so-
because you need to watch on the words you use because they don't have that P on the.
Yeah, so
Sorry, I'm not on the news.
after ownership, we come to the also very painful topic, and this is data quality. Usually, when we discuss, I spoke to a couple of conferences, and once I said, if somebody says the data is so-so, that means it's bad. If they say they're bad, that means they're very bad. If they are said they are good, then I usually say they don't have any clue how they are bad. So this is my interpretation, but let's see how it's in your case. Maybe Biljana, you can give us just your view how, in terms of data quality, what is the quality, how do you deal with it, what are the plans?
During the project, in the previous 2 years, we are constantly doing on data quality. So we try to make it better. And the first time when we have something in production, it was sales reporting. We realized that we became aware how are the quality, how the quality of data is. So, and we found some things which we correct in the meantime, but always when we have something in production, we see something which we can see something which we have never seen before. So it is the constant it is business which should be done all the time. So when speaking about data quality in NL, I would say the data quality is more or less okay, but it can be better for sure. We cannot be 100% sure that our data is good and our data is high quality.
But
I think that it
efforts were immense, I mean, in the last 2 years to improve.
Yes, we need a big effort to correct, to increase the quality of the data, but to be honest, we prioritize that part of the job in the next few months. We will do more and try to increase that quality. And because as I mentioned in the beginning of this session, collaboration is the main topic, and collaboration open our eyes that that quality of the data must be better. Otherwise, we can fail our business, or I don't know.
Mika, maybe you can share some examples about generally quality data, issues that you had, some ways or solutions that you implemented in order to improve.
Yeah, so I think that it's good what Andrei said before. I think it's a maturity level, so where you are. But I don't think that you can just start from the beginning and say, yeah, our data quality is top edge, so we have everything, it's accurate, etc. So I think that you're learning by doing. When you are plugging in different systems, different platforms, of course you run into mistakes. You run to, I don't know, double data. It happened to us, double cells. I don't know, inaccurate because products were not, on one place, and we didn't have the master data management around the product. So this was one of the, let's say, project that we did, if we talk about concrete cases, where we said, okay, if we want to have data quality around products and right hierarchies inside of the reporting systems and so on, we have to have products on one place, all the hierarchies in one place, prices, calculations around the products and so on. So we implemented that. That was actually a separate project which we run, and we said, okay, this will be our master data management for products. And yeah, it took us, I don't know, it was a 1-year project, because again, ownership, sponsor, who will do it, how this will be, and then integration. This was actually the hardest way, so that all the systems are getting data from one place, all the operational system. And with that, you then have this single version of truth around the dimension that you are using for the reporting. But of course, on the other side, if I'm looking, this is the bright side. If I'm looking the other side, we have still a lot of islands which we need to tackle. There, it's one by one, so you need to go. It's not. I don't think if we would again mature ourselves between 1 and 5, I would say we are somewhere in the middle. So golden middle, but we are definitely not on top.
But this what you mentioned. Also, it's not very short and easy way.
No,
it was long. It
no.
was.
It has to be a process. Again, it has to be evolution. But as I said before, we learned on the mistakes. If somebody would say today, let's build an, reporting system, data platform in cloud, whatever, people should think about that, People should think about what are the pre-stuff that you need to do before you start the data platform. And I remember when we started, I think it was one of the projects around this CPO Global, so it was measuring the campaigns and the products and so on. We were doing actually first the cleaning part with them. So we had to understand how the data will be structured and where they will lie before we will do any of this data management in sense of transferring the data and so on. And it took us, it takes time. That's why think about it. So this should be part of the project or even single project before.
Petra, in your case, again, is it question on the holding level, on the group level? Is it problem should be on the OPCO level? How do you see this quality issue?
Although I said that we are somewhere between unaware and aware from data governance perspective in general, I think that data quality in our group is really pretty good. Because we can probably thank that because we have pretty, let's say, strong IT landscape in our company. And if you really, when you implement systems, integrate them, do that on the right way, then you can really don't have some maybe classical ones that you're missing the data or duplicates data or something like that. So I think that it's, of course, I'm talking in average because we have a lot of companies, so it's not the same everywhere. But the data that we have, it's really good. We did some maturity assessment a year ago, and that was also the results from external consultants. And when we started with advanced analytics activities, it's also something what we saw there. Of course, it's not perfect. It will never be perfect because people do mistakes, and each system somewhere there is really a human being who is doing something. So always mistakes are possible, and they're there. But in general, I would say that quality is really good. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last, in this operational part, the last topic is regulatory compliance. As we said, Biljana had experience with the banking. Banking is very regulated. The rest of the industry are partly hit with GDPR, as we discussed, one of the main laws in this area. Maybe we can start with you, Biljana, about your experience, how this was, maybe to give us this correlation, banking versus non-banking and everything else. So how do you look on that?
So I don't know what to say. there are two views. Let's say, if you have a regulation, regulation, in my point of view, in my opinion, or from my point of view, regulation can help you in the data governance somehow, because if some rules are very well defined by a regulator, it can help you in data governance topic. So, or if some things are prescribed by a regulation, it can help you in a data governance area. So you know you have some data standards which we didn't mention here today, but it is very important to define data standards for all attributes or main entities. And in ELT we defined two main entities, two core entities for our business, customer and product, and we define data standards for all attributes inside customer and product. And it helps us a lot to have somehow better position for data governance. But when speaking about regulation, so somehow regulation can help you, but on the other hand, it can slow you down to do some more attractive, some more innovative projects which are more important for business. So it is two different views. So now in NELT we have some regulation, but it isn't strict like it was in banking, and you can be creative and you can do some other projects and value from that projects, for business value from that project should be important, because in banking sometimes you don't have time to do anything except to serve a regulator.
In terms of the, especially now, let's say GDPR and others, the both Forte Nova and Studio Moderno, you have the loyalty program, which are again one of the cores of your business, both companies. So how do you see this regulatory aspect from your side? How do you see any influence on that? Is it loyalty program, the whole was somehow structured by the regulator, or you try just to take a bare minimum and say, okay, if I need to do something, I will do, but I will try to be creative or whatever in that sense?
So, if data management is boring, I think that this part is even more boring. But I hope that people will not get asleep. But it's a struggle. So for European Union, it's more or less known. So, and then you have countries which adopt European Union regulation, or even went harder. We have cases like that. So we were operating in, or we are still operating in European Union and non-European Union. And then you need to have DPO, so Data Protection Officer, who is taking care of this. When we were in 23 countries, we had actually, by the organization, person locally who was actually signed as a deputy of DPO in the organization. And then you need to follow. I will try to be short. What you said, Alexander, is, are you catching the bare minimum or going? I think that, in some countries you are probably on the edge, because otherwise I don't know how you would run the business. And I'm not talking only about sizes that we are, I think that also larger companies are doing pretty similar. On the other side, where you don't struggle with the business and you can go few steps more, you do it. From the technical, I think that from the technical point of view, it's the hardest way. If you want to have one platform and rule all the regulation, this is the hard part. At least this is how I felt when we were putting this in place. So there is no magic formula. Unfortunately, if you are in European Union, yes, tick, it's great, you follow one rule. If you are outside, each country will be your own. And then, all what you need to sign, in some of the countries, you actually need to have paper signed in retail if you want to use this data on the further marketing activities, which is nonsense. So we had to put in all our store that tablet to sign and store this signature inside, you know. But you have to do it, otherwise you cannot. When you come to the loyalty, you cannot use partner in the loyalty program. Hence, in our way, in our loyalty, you pay that you are inside of the loyalty program, and you have benefits after that. So you need to follow, you know, at least, yeah, bare minimum, like you said.
Okay, but it's, you know, if you're looking now, we've done the whole theory, right? But what kind of technology have you applied so far, you know, from the data governance perspective, and what technologies you see that you will be applying going forward?
In our case, it's really about loyalty data. We have in our retail companies our loyalty customers, and it's like Michael said, you really need to have the approval to use any data for any analytics or anything. But at this point, it's not impacting us a lot. You know, we need to be very careful. Of course, in some systems we cannot have names, surnames, any personal data, and so on. But you can still use the data, you know, even if you don't know these informations, because it's of course useful even without that. So it's not that big of a deal in our case, really. We are not banking industry or something like that, so it's probably a bit easier. But like Micha said, there is a DPO. The rules are very strict, you know. You always need to address these topics with the data if you're sharing it with especially anyone external, what you can share or not, and you just follow the rules. So yeah, it's boring.
Okay, Bina, from this perspective, technologies that you already applied in the environment, and you know, technologies that you're looking at applying going forward, or where you need to improve even more in the data governance space. And we don't need to brand the technologies, but more of
Generally.
Let's talk a bit. We try to use one of the tool we already have in order to use it as a data catalog, and it is what we are doing now. And also data lineage is something which are doing in this moment. And also some other applications. Some of them we built internally, and it is from, for example, for a modern record point of view and something like that, just to help us to do some things on a more advanced way than it is Excel and some files and all. But what we miss by now is master data management application. We don't have it, but we all the time we miss it. So I think that it can help us a lot in this project and in this area generally speaking. So it is something which we are thinking about, and I think that in the next year maybe we will do something on that topic.
Michael, you were already mentioning like master data management, which is more like a product information management.
I think that this is, if I'm short, so that we can have also wrap up and everything. So PIM on one side, which I believe it's a really positive story, good project. It brings us benefit now on unified data and so on. TIC, on the other side, we have financial data which are not managed, let's say, so good that are sales data, if I may say like this. And when you said where we will invest in the future, definitely in this part we will need to invest more. So these are two words. Because we are retailers, of course, we were always driven by revenue, what you can do to increase the revenue, to monitor more. And I think that this part was lagging behind. So everything around finance and finance reporting was a bit, you know, misglitch, if I may say like this, and that's why we will need to cover this part in the future.
And Petra?
Well, in our case, we implemented the master data management for partners, for customers and suppliers on a group level. We have the bottom-up approach here. So it's not that we implemented the system on a group level and that everyone needs to use as ERP, but we are collecting the data from from 20 companies and matching it on the top. Something similar we are doing with products, with SKUs, for our retail companies. This is the project that is in progress, I would say. And now we are starting with a project where we will really implement the software on a group level, and all companies will need to create orders from that solution. Beside that, when it comes to data catalog or lineage or something, we're still here on some basics, some documentation in Excel or something like that, and we have some dashboarding on it. But in the long term, we plan to really find the appropriate solution for that also, but it's not yet time for that.
So if we wrap it up and say what would be the key 2-3 best practices you would advise everyone here as they challenge the data governance within their own organization? Bila?
Data strategy, sponsor from the executive board, and change management.
Okay. Petra?
Well, something similar. I really do agree with this sponsorship because, as Miha also said, I think this is not something that you can just, leave it to a lot of people. It won't go that way. It really needs to be pushed from the bottom, and you need to have someone there who understands that and the challenges that working with the data brings. So good sponsorship on the top, and then change management is always important because when you work with people who are used to work in one way, and when you're changing the systems, it's always challenging. So this is something.
Yeah.
Great. So I would say, in short, so not to repeat myself what colleagues said, embedded data inside of the culture. It's not easy because culture doesn't it doesn't happen during the night, but data should be part of the culture of the organization. And what we maybe didn't talk today too much is education. Education all around. What is data management? What are roles inside of the data governance and so on? We never did that. And I see also now when I'm hearing the colleagues and so on, probably also my fault from the perspective and role where I am. It should be more. So at least, if nothing else, you need to bring in conversation these roles, that they understand why is there, that also people outside the organization are doing this, and this is not something that is boring. It is boring from the subject, but it's important from the asset perspective for the company.
And also communication, education and communication, it is part of change management.
Yeah.
But what I would like to suggest is when you do some small things, please communicate it to everybody, yes, within your organization. So it will be small step, but big for awareness and for the whole change management.
So basically, have a proper sponsorship, have structures, methodologies, which basically comes with the data strategy as well, and do the proper change management from the beginning, which starts with awareness, ends up with proper adoption, right? Yeah. So, and sponsorship means what? So, because giving you an anecdote from my past, on a, I would say, large public sector law enforcement project on a kickoff, I got a question, what is the role of sponsor? From one of the team members on the client side. And the sponsor on the client side didn't know what to answer, so I said, so at the beginning and at the end buys the lunch. I would thank you very much before we leave, but if any questions, please. Yeah?
From the technical point of view, how do you deal with data governance and data quality issues? Like, do you use some programming languages, tools, etc.? And that was our first question. And the second question is, do you use some framework for data governance?
Who will start?
I can share our experience regarding tools. So we have some tools, from which we can define business rules. Business rules can help us to deal with the data quality and to increase data quality. So it is from technical point of view. The second question was about
The framework.
the framework. So for data governance, we don't use any concrete framework.
From framework perspective, I will let you know later. We are now in process, but for now, no. And when it comes to some technical, I don't know, let's say, surveillance of everything, we do have implemented some data quality, let's say, I don't know, some really basic rules to detect anomalies. But as we speak, we are also defining on a business side, how to really detect at right time that something is not okay. But on technical level, while we are doing the night load, we are doing some controls there to see is everything, loaded in the right way. The data in general is on good quality, but it's not the same when you have the business definition of when you need to detect some anomalies that you don't have all the data there, and this is not something that you can detect during the night load or something like that.
So from the framework perspective, we don't have a technical tool or technical solution for that. When it comes to the other part is actually data governance. As we know, and what was emphasized also today, there are many layers of data governance. Probably the quality is the easiest part, if I may say like this, when you can use tools to see if the quality of the data is coming out as it should come out to the users. I will not talk about platforms here because we are not here to sell the solution. We can do also offline. Nevertheless, we are on the same platform or same vendor for 15 plus years, so we can talk offline on that. What I think is that each part of the data governance needs to have or has tools on the market who can actually cover that. That's what I said before. So master data management is one of it, which we talked, I think all of us. We tackle these for products as PIMs, or product information management. And this was a start, and it's quite important start, because without that, and there is a tool behind, of course, technical tool, without that, we would be blind, or we would compare apples with pears. That's the point. Which you choose, it's maybe the other perspective, I think a bit is with which vendor you are collaborating, which technology you have in place already right now, and what is or who is your partner on the market with who you are collaborating. Because this is actually what, in most of the cases, drives a bit how you will structure then technology inside. At least this was my experience, and maybe I'm wrong, but my experience was like that.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
That's good.
How data governance and data quality processes affect the ongoing data analysis, data science processes like reporting, dashboards, and so on?
It helps them, of course. It helps them, but we started with advanced analytics before we implemented real data governance.
Sorry, but does it affect, because you need to report on weekly basis or on daily basis, but when you change the shape of that data, how it's gathered, how it's stored, how it's pre-processed, does it affect the current reporting that you're doing?
It can, of course, it can, but when it comes to advanced analytics, in that case, it's really important to have this information flow if the business is changing something, because it can really impact how the models are doing. So from that perspective, it does change that part. But this classical reporting, mostly not, if it's set right on the right way. But for advanced analytics, is more important to have the right information on time and to adjust whatever you need to adjust on the solutions that you already developed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone? Then thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving all the experience, and I hope you.